Okay. Why is it not? Let's see. Next. All right, guys. If anybody is here, I am here today to rank my films of January and February that were released. So, wait for somebody to get here before I start. Okay, it seems like there's somebody here. Make yourself known, whoever's here. All right. Oh, oops. All right, we got somebody here. Who is here? send the link real quick. All right, we got 2 people. Let's see. So I guess we got a couple people. I'm going to get started. Took 5 minutes, but I'm going to get started with my rankings of the January and February films of 2020 so far that I have seen. So let's get started. And my least favorite movie that I've seen so far out of the 15th is The Turning. And The Turning is based on a book that I've never read. I don't know anything about the turn of the screw. And this movie for me, I didn't know anything about it. I went into it thinking, oh, it could be okay. It could be fine. But this was my least favorite movie so far this year. This movie was really, really bad. And I hate saying that. I hate saying any movie's bad. But man, this one just really frustrated me because it's a creepy kids movie. But the ending of the movie just says, screw you to that. It's just going to be a random twist that just didn't work for me. So I really didn't like The Turning at all. I thought that one was really, really bad. And I thought that it's interesting. It's got a cast that I liked. I liked Mackenzie Davis and I liked Finn Wolfhard. Like, I think they're good in other things, but they really just suffer in this movie from being whatever type of like you look at Finn Wolfhard's character in the movie and he's just this sociopath. Like, that's it. He's just a jerk, like this rude kid. And Mackenzie Davis I liked a lot, even though she didn't have anything to really do. She was just the nanny who got scared a lot, and that was pretty much it. There wasn't much else with her character. And it's just one of those movies that it's very much a jump scare movie, where out of all the movies I've seen so far this year, horror-wise with jump scares, this one had my least favorite jump scares because there were aplenty and they were lazy and not interesting. And I thought that this one really suffered from that as well. It suffered from doing so many things that I just think don't work for me. And it just wasn't an entertaining movie at all. There was nothing that I could really, really hook onto to see. There was nothing really I could hook onto with this movie. I never felt anything for the characters. I never felt scared. I always felt like the jump scares were really lame and uninteresting. So it just really, really sucked. So unfortunately, that's how I felt about The Turning. And I hate being negative about movies, even a movie I don't like, because I don't want to rob anybody of loving a movie that I don't like, because I think that's really a sad thing if, like, I tell somebody, oh, this movie is awful, and then somebody goes, oh, it's awful, I'm not going to see it because he thinks that way. And I don't want to ever do that. I want people to see a movie for their own sake and see if they like it or dislike it. I never want to be a person to say, like, you shouldn't like this, because there might be a big mega Turning fan out there somewhere right now. And that's awesome. Good for you. That's really cool. Even I'm not a fan of it, but I like whenever people have different opinions. I think that is great. So The Turning was my number 15 least favorite movie of the year so far, out of the 2 months we've had. And then we come to number 14, which is Dolittle. Robert Downey Jr. and his smug little face right there. Just it's one of those, again, it's one of those movies that's really, really lame. It's a movie where it's cutesy animals, CGI animals that say modern lingo, and it's just not funny, and it's just really lame. And it feels like Robert Downey Jr. and his wife had a vision for this movie. Like, they were going to make this movie what they wanted to. And I feel like the studio heads just immediately went into this movie and think, okay, we got to have fart jokes. We got to have dumb jokes for the lowest demographic. So we got to have Dolittle. Let's do it that way. Let's make it kind of like the Eddie Murphy ones, where it's like humorous animals, but make it even worse. So that's really not much else I could say about Dolittle. Oh, and Robert Downey Jr. Pulls stuff out of a dragon's butthole. And that's something that I think is really just what? Like, why did you even have that in the movie? It's so lame. I don't get why. The movie is just lame. It's a very, very good definition of lame for me. Oh, for this year. Like, it's extremely lame, it's extremely boring, and just so just bland in every aspect of it. And just with every childish dumb joke that you have in one of these movies, it just really suffered from that. I really thought that it was just really lame movie. There's not much else I can say about Dolittle. And then we have number 13, which would be The Grudge. And this is a pseudo reboot. It's a sequel in technicality to the other 3 American Grudge movies, but it doesn't really mention those. It's like, it's connected, but that's it. And it is just about the Grudge getting people, but the Grudge is barely in this movie. And I know that the other movies, it's not in there as much either, but I felt like this one really dragged so much. Like, I was so uninterested watching this one. It really didn't do anything for me. I didn't really care for the characters. I did like the fact that the movie is different with how they interpret the Grudge than the other movies. Like this movie is ultra violent, and like, I only saw the first 2 American Grudges, and I hear the third one is rated R, but I didn't see it. And I will eventually, but this one is really, really violent and surprisingly violent. Like, I was surprised how really hard to watch it was, like, just in the brutality. And I like that. I appreciated it being different, but it to me was just so utterly like whatever. Like, there was nothing interesting about it, that I really got nothing out of the Grudge 2020 at all. Like, it's just so lame. Again, these last 3 were so lame to me. Like, there was nothing that, like, this one especially, like, there's not really much I could say that made me really feel like I should have watched this one. Like, I mean, I'm not mad that I saw it, but I was just watching it. I was so utterly bored. Like, it's just not very interesting. It just suffers from being a very dull movie. Everything about it to me was just so dull and uninteresting, and it's unfortunate, but I don't know. Like, I really didn't feel much for the Grudge besides some good gore, and it really, I don't know, like, there's nothing else really besides that. So let's do the next one. The next movie on my list would be Brahms, The Boy 2. And again, we're just in January, February horror movies, where, see, I had it, the last couple were 1.5 stars. Now I got the Brahms, The Boy 2, which is 2 stars. And I felt like it's definitely not good still, but I felt like I was a little more interested watching The Boy 2 than the other couple I talked about, like Grudge or The Turning. Like, I felt like this one was at least a little bit more watchable, really, because of Katie Holmes. Like, Katie Holmes does a good job in this movie, and she really kind of not elevates it, but she does a good job of making me care a little more in this movie than normal. Like, I really feel like she was kind of a reason for me to feel like I'd give this one a little bit over the other 2 movies I just mentioned, the other 2 horror movies, or even all 3 that I just mentioned. So it's interesting because The Boy 2, while I like it a little more than the other couple bad movies I just mentioned, I think that it is insulting personally just to rewrite what the first movie was, in which, I don't want to spoil the first one, but the first one is not the same supernatural doll story that we usually get in these movies. It's not that. And this movie is a dull supernatural doll movie. While the first movie wasn't, it was meant to look like one, but the first of The Boy was not like that. So it's unfortunate that this one is just what you thought the first one would be, a dull, generic movie. And it's not really creepy either. Like, I never really felt scared or creeped out. I felt like there really wasn't much to go on. It was pretty much just every ripoff of doll movie that you could get, with how the doll sits there, looks creepy like Annabelle, or you've got the kid becoming obsessed with the doll, talking to the doll in private like in Child's Play, and the doll being alive like Child's Play. Like, it doesn't do much for me. It really didn't do anything for me. And again, it's kind of insulting just for me personally for it existing. Like, it's a weird sequel that the first movie was trying to be something different than your typical supernatural doll movie, and then this one was your bland doll movie, the supernatural doll movie that did nothing. It was just so uninteresting. And of course, the movie ends, without spoiling it, the movie ends in a dumb, like, oh, it's still going kind of ending. So it's just, it really sucks. I really didn't care for The Boy 2. All right, next up. Now, this one is one people were saying was one of the worst movies of the year so far. And I agree, but out of all the movies I've mentioned so far, this one was the more watchable out of the other 4 movies I've talked about so far. This one is a Blumhouse movie that it's based off of the TV show Fantasy Island. I never watched it. I know the premise of it, and it's a more horror version of that, even though I heard that that's kind of a horror show anyways, or like a creepy show. And it's one of those movies where it's just really utterly like stupid. Like, it's a very stupid movie where like you watch it and the first 2/3 are just, what's up, John Kyle? The first 2/3 are just so whatever, like they're fine, but the third act is just, you look at the third act and it's just a random twist of events that just don't make any sense whenever they built on the movie already. It's just so stupid. I don't understand. I don't like, the movie was passably boring for the first 2/3, and then the third act was just these twists that just didn't make any sense and were really stupid. And the movie was just really boring and uninteresting. Like, it has a lot of just fantasies these characters have, but they're not anything that interesting. There's like one that's doing a party, and then there's one that's meeting a person that they fell in love with and regretted not falling in love with. It's just like, it's not very interesting with the fantasies that these characters have. So I don't know. Like, it's really more the third act that really just made me suffer through it more than anything. Like, I thought the first 2/3 were fun in a bad way, but then the third act, I was like, no, screw this. This isn't good. What's up, John Kyle? I already said what's up. You need to see Fantasy Island for yourself. But there's not much else I could say about Fantasy Island. I'd say, man, I don't know. Like, Fantasy Island really just suffered from being utterly lame. But it's more the third act that just put a bad taste in my mouth than anything. Than anything really at all than just that. I'm checking to see if the comments are different on here. Okay, never mind. So, done with Fantasy Island. That would be 15, 14, 13, 12. That'd be number 12. So number 11 would be Like a Boss, which I saw. It's nothing that I'm interested in. It's like Selma Hayek is a villain, and like Rose Byrne and Tiffany Haddish like run opposite makeup companies, and it's a really bad movie. And of course, I try to see everything, even though this is not a movie that I would care to see. But it's got just a lot of poop jokes, a lot of yeast infection jokes, And there's not much else to say. That one, I mean, it had a couple funny moments. Like, it's okay. And then we've got Gretel and Hansel. Gretel and Hansel is a movie that is incredibly gorgeous. It's a beautiful movie. It looks so good. It's got such a distinct style and identity to it just on the cinematography alone and the atmosphere. But the rest of the movie is just complete and utter blandness. Like, the movie is so hollow. It's got a great visual look to it, but it's just a hollow movie. There's nothing else to it that really worked for me. And I really am annoyed that, like, I didn't like it more, because I felt like the movie should be more like, it should be more of an interesting movie, watching Gretel and Hansel, and especially if they're doing it in like a dark way. Like, if they did it in a dark way, I feel like it would have been more interesting and more fascinating. But Hansel and Gretel, or Gretel and Hansel, I guess, is not very interesting. It's just really bland. And the acting's fine, but it's just not very interesting. There's not much that I could say about Gretel and Hansel. I kind of honestly forgot about it. But again, besides the incredible visuals, this movie just suffers from being just bland and, like, not entertaining and not memorable. And it should be memorable because of all the visuals to it, but it's just really, really bland. But yeah, we're getting through the really bland movies, so let's get, well, this one's pretty bland too. Next up is Downhill. Now, Downhill is Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus as this couple who are going sledding, or going around skiing, and they go and they bicker throughout the whole movie. Hey, Greg, what's up? I'm glad you just saw Invisible Man. Awesome. Invisible Man is so good. You'll see that later on this list. But Downhill is just a really, like, I think acting wise, this is a good movie. Like, I like the acting in Downhill, but I didn't really like the characters. The characters were really unlikable. They're two characters that are older and they're falling out of love, so, like, they don't like each other, and, like, they're just complaining at each other through the movie. And that's pretty much the movie. It's not very fascinating. But again, the acting is good. Like, I think that these two actors, Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, do bring an amount of dignity to this movie, because I think that they do a good job and they're really interesting. Like, I do think these characters are interesting, but they just bicker at each other through the whole movie, so it's not very interesting. It's just really boring. Like, honestly, it's just a boring movie with characters that are not likable, and not likable in a way where I really was invested, if that makes sense. Because usually these characters like this, like, if they're written really well, I could like them even if they're unlikable, but this just wasn't very interesting. Like, it just wasn't an interesting movie, and it really just didn't do much for me at all. And so, yeah, there's not much else I could say about Downhill, but it's a little better than the other movies I've seen so far out on this list. Oh, wait, I didn't make it a ranking. Hold on. There it is, ranked list. Hey, you guys can tell it says ranked on it now. Let's see. All right. Now we got the rankings down, so you can tell right there what is ranked. So then number 7, we have The Call of the Wild. And The Call of the Wild, directed by Chris Sanders, who directed Lilo and Stitch, which is cool because I really like Lilo and Stitch. I don't know if he's directed anything else. You can check right now. Oh, he did How to Train Your Dragon. I haven't seen that, but I hear that's good. But Call of the Wild is next up, and it's one of those movies where it's a cutesy dog movie, like in a book that apparently is really brutal. I've never read the book, but it's based on a novel that's pretty violent and pretty depressing, I guess, from what I've heard. I've never read the book, But Call of the Wild just seemed to me like they really cutesied it up, where it's just like a dog doing a lot of cutesy stuff, and it goes on an adventure. It's an adventure movie, and I think that the movie does a good job of being pretty. Like it's a good looking movie. The cinematography is good. It has a thing that everybody gets annoyed about, where it's a fully fledged CGI dog. It's a CGI dog the whole movie, and I think that it's not as jarring as something like, say, like Air Buddies or Snow Buddies or something like that, like some kind of movie like that. Like it's a fully animated CG dog that does a lot of silly stuff, but it's not out of the realism. Like it doesn't take you out of it, if that makes sense. Like it's a dog that's just a dog, but it's CGI. So at least I'm glad that the movie didn't go over the top with the CGI dog in terms of like what it can do, because it's not a real dog. But I did appreciate the fact that the dog, even though it's CGI, it's still doing things in the realistic fashion, except instead of like being over the top. So I did like that. And Harrison Ford is good in the movie, and I think that the other actors are really good in it. Karen Gillan is good. Dan Stevens is good. Omar Sy is good. Like, these are all good actors, and I did think they're really fun. I think that they all do a fine job, and Bradley Whitford too. What movie is that, Colton? That sounds pretty bizarre. Whatever movie you're talking about, but Call of the Wild, again, it's a good looking movie. It has some good moments to it, but it's not one that I'd really watch again. I liked it okay. Like, it's totally serviceable. It's definitely one that kids would like. It's definitely one of those kind of movies, but besides that, it's just kind of whatever. Like, it's totally fine. And then, okay, so today, this is the movie that I watched today, and I just put on this list. We got Color Out of Space. Color Out of Space is the newest H.P. Lovecraft adapted story, Color Out of Space. I guess I'm spoiling my review now because I haven't put out the review on my channel yet. But Color Out of Space, I thought was just okay. Like, I didn't love it. I thought it was just fine. Like, it's totally serviceable. But I never really, like, watching this movie today, I never really loved it. Honestly, I really love Nicolas Cage movies, but like, he feels so out of place in this movie. Like, this movie is trying to be really serious, and then you got Nicolas Cage doing random crap. And I mean, I do, and I'm not saying that as an insult to Nicolas Cage. It sounded like I did, but I'm not, because Nicolas Cage I really like. He's a great actor, and he's really fun, and whenever he's over the top, he's great. But it just didn't really fit for me on first watch. Maybe if I watch it again, I might feel differently, but I really didn't think that this one, like, I felt like he was the odd thing in this movie, because the movie's trying to be really serious, and the movie has some great visuals. I really love the visual of this movie. They really knocked it out of the park with the visuals. They're really cool. There's some good horrifying moments, but again, the Nicolas Cage thing honestly annoyed me, and I was honestly really bored and not super interested throughout the movie. I never was fully invested in the movie. And the one reason why this movie I was disappointed with is because I watched Annihilation, and Annihilation came out in 2018, which was really good. One of the best movies of that year. They use a lot of story elements from Color Out of Space, and it really didn't, like, it did the same thing in this one, but I felt like it was way more horrifying and way more well done in the Annihilation movie. And I don't know, I really thought Color Out of Space was just okay. Like, I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it. I thought it was just middle of the road. Like, it's got some cool visuals, it's got some good horror elements. Just odd thing out is Nicolas Cage, and because Annihilation came out so close a couple years ago, I am comparing this to Annihilation. I loved Annihilation way more. So it's just unfortunate. I really didn't didn't feel the same way for this movie like a lot of people did. So yeah, we got Wild Man Beyond here. How's it going? So next up, number 5 would be Bad Boys for Life. And Bad Boys for Life was surprisingly interesting. Like, it was fun. I dig the other Bad Boys movies. Like, I think they're fun and enjoyable. But this one I think is just as fun and enjoyable. I really did like things about this one. I thought that the Will Smith and Martin Lawrence again have great chemistry. They're both really fun, and they're both really, like in the other movies, they're really charming and really just hilarious. Like, they've got good banter with each other. And it really was just a fun movie. I really did enjoy Bad Boys. Yeah, tell me what the movie is. I don't know if I might review it. Man, Hate Annihilation. You're always controversial, Colton. You're always so controversial. Everybody loves Annihilation. Well, I mean, that's cool though. I like how you have a different opinion though, because I like when people have different opinions and they're not the same. That's pretty cool. But Bad Boys for Life, not directed by Michael Bay this time, directed by these two people, however you say their names. They both did a good job. I really did like the movie. Hey Derek, what's up? Just talking about my number 5. John Kyle, what are you talking about? Well, Colton, like, Annihilation got like really great critical reviews, and I've never really heard anybody that disliked it. So I feel like that is a little controversial, in my opinion, at least. But again, I like that you don't like it. That's cool. There's movies I don't like that people like too. So I like when we have different opinions. It's pretty awesome. But is there anything else I can say about Bad Boys for Life? I think the action was pretty cool. I thought they both were really fun. I thought that the gang that were like the new people that worked with Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, like the new team. Like, I thought they were fun. Like, it had Vanessa Hudgens and Alexander Ludwig. Like, they were fun, like, side characters, and I think they just did a good job. And yeah, so I enjoyed Bad Boys for Life. This one was really solid. So we're already at number 5. So let's talk about number 4. And number 4 would be Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, Sonic the Hedgehog, I just talked to my friend about it on the phone, like right before I started this, and he was saying that like it was very bland. And I agree in the aspect that Sonic the Hedgehog had a bland story, but because I'm so nostalgic for Sonic the Hedgehog, I thought that this movie, honestly, when compared to video game movies, was actually better than I anticipated. Like, I could see why people wouldn't like this movie, but I was involved. I felt like I liked it. I thought it was fun and enjoyable, and the guy who played Sonic and the guy who voiced Sonic did a good job, and James Marsden did a good job, and it was cool to see Tika Sumpter again. And Jim Carrey, of course, was really good. And it really was a very 90s movie. So I feel like that's why a lot of people didn't like Sonic, because it felt like it was very like 20 years ago. So, or 30 years ago, actually. And it's a shame. Like, I think Sonic was enjoyable enough. I thought it had... Colton did not voice Sonic. It definitely had an enjoyable enough Sonic character, and James Marsden was enjoyable enough. They had good like a good friendship, like they were fun together. But the movie is just, it had a typical like fish out of water road trip movie story, so there wasn't much to go on with that, but it was still solid enough, and it was still fun. And I know it will go down lower as the year goes along on my list, but I still thought that it was enjoyable enough. Like, it had some good things about it. I thought it was fun enough, I guess, is what I can say about Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh yeah, and good thing you pointed that out, Derek, because Sonic's, yeah, his first look, yeah, I didn't like it either. That's one of the things where I'm glad that they changed it, because it to me personally, it just didn't look. It looks so much more like Sonic now. It looks so much more like what it should be, and it was just a very jarring like first look for Sonic. It really, I don't know what they were thinking. It was just, yeah, it wasn't that great. But let's go to my number 3 right now. And this is a movie that the more I've thought about it, I shouldn't have rated this as high as I did. But Underwater is a movie that came out in February, I think. And it's a 20th Century Fox movie, but Disney bought Fox, and I think they kind of just threw this movie under the rug. And it's, for me, this one, I actually enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. Like it's an underwater thriller where you've got all these characters. Kristen Stewart's character, where she and her crew are stuck underwater and they can't get out, and then there is a bigger threat outside. And I think that they did a good job with the cinematography, with the action, with the thrilling moments. But it has a couple things that annoy me. Like TJ Miller really annoyed me in the movie. He was just so jarring in how he was the comedic character, but his jokes were like, and I like TJ Miller. I'm not saying I don't, but I didn't like him in the movie, like tone wise, because he just added a lot of random stuff that kind of ruined the moments. And the movie, I felt like the reason I was on a high, like I rated this movie pretty high, and it's my number 3 so far of this year. But it to me was the ending. I thought the ending did a cool job of being like a good last act, but I should have thought about the first 2 acts, because the first 2 acts, I thought on remembering it, like they weren't that great. Like the third act put me on a high where I was like, man, this is awesome. But the rest of the movie is just okay. So I rated it like 4 stars out of 5, and I shouldn't have done that. I should put that lower, but I think 3 stars is pretty serviceable. So let's move that. We'll edit that on the list. So instead, let me see. So that goes down, way down. Underwater. And then yeah, that monster was pretty giant, John Kyle. Oh, Derek, you weren't here. I already talked. Let me reiterate what I have said for my rankings. So you can look right here. Number 15 will be The Turning. Dolittle will be 14. The Grudge will be 13. The Boy 2, 12. Fantasy Island, 11. Like a Boss, 10. Hansel and Gretel, 9. Downhill, 8. Underwater is now 7. Call of the Wild is 6. Color Out of Space is 5. Then Bad Boys for Life. Then Sonic. Then we're at my number 2. And my number 2 is Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, which is a title that, man, that's a mouthful to say. Like, that's a really crazy title. And Warner Brothers are really sad about that title, because they should have called it like Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, as opposed to the Birds of Prey, because Birds of Prey, I really didn't know what Birds of Prey was. Birds of Prey was like, it's like a comic group, like a book in the comics, a group in the comic books. And I didn't really know what that was. I knew who Harley Quinn was. I haven't read any comics with Harley Quinn, but I thought that this movie was actually really solid and really, really, really good. Like it actually got really good reviews, or pretty solid reviews, like Derek said. And I really enjoyed everything about it, like DC has had a really great like run of movies recently, like with Joker and with Shazam and Aquaman. Like they've done a really great job. And Wonder Woman, they've done a great job recently with all their DC movies. And Birds of Prey really surprised me. Like I really liked all these characters. I really thought the action is some of the best action in the DC movies. The DC movies really do kind of go back and forth with what they're trying to do action wise. Like you've got like Aquaman, which is like CG explosion of an explosion of CG. Like it's ridiculous, but in a good way. Aquaman's really fun and awesome, but it's purely CG. And then you've got this, which is purely just like actual stunts, and like it works very, very well with the realistic tone this movie in particular is having, even though it's set in a world where Aquaman fights all these like underwater CG creatures. Like it's cool to see how these DC movies like Marvel have more of a realism, even though this movie is about Harley Quinn telling her story, but she's an unreliable narrator because she tells a lot of things, but I feel like a lot of stuff that she does isn't logical, but this is from her point of view and she's crazy. So I do think that's pretty awesome. And the movie, the basic plot of the movie is that she breaks up with the Joker, or the Joker breaks up with her, and then she meets these other women who are also in these bad situations. And like you got Black Canary, who's part of like Black Mask's like where she works, and like she's stuck with that. And then you've got Huntress, who her family has been killed, and she's trying to find the person to take revenge on to kill him. And then you got Renee Montoya, who's this cop who is getting her badge taken away. And then you've got Cassandra Cain, who's this little girl who's like one of the best, like a really good thief, and like she steals a diamond that Black Mask wants. And I think that the story is really fun and really, really interesting. I did think that all these characters were great. I thought the action was great. I thought it was a cool movie where it's like, I don't want to get into this, but it's like those woke movies. Like I thought it did a good job of being woke without like beating over the head with the idea of it, because these are all women characters who are troubled. And I think they did a great job of it. And I thought that Harley Quinn in particular, like we only saw the Joker in this universe so far in only one movie, in Suicide Squad, Jared Leto Joker, and he's not in this movie. And I do like the fact that Harley Quinn and him are broken up in this movie, because it's like Harley Quinn as a character becomes her own self, because the character of Harley Quinn is this character who relies on the Joker. And in Suicide Squad, every time the Joker said, "I'm going to get you," or "I'm going to come and get you so I could save you," she'd be like, "Oh, I'm coming. I'm going to come and join you." Like she never thought for herself. And I thought that's a cool character thing where like she's thinking for herself and doing her own thing. I think that's awesome. Even though I'm one of those few people that didn't hate the Joker's like Jared Leto's performance as a Joker. I didn't hate him. I didn't think he was great, but I didn't dislike him. I thought that he was interesting. I think it's more because he had all those tattoos, like Pimp Daddy Joker tattoos, which was really weird. But you could do the next movie with a Joker, Jared Leto, and not have that. But I don't know. A lot of people didn't like his performance either. I didn't dislike it. I just thought it was okay. But Suicide Squad, I think, is really fun. And I think that this is a cool follow-up spin-off to it. It's not really a Suicide Squad 2, because we've got the next Suicide Squad coming out next year, I think, which I'm really excited for. Oh, and I forgot to say, Ewan McGregor is freaking awesome in this movie. And he like Margot Robbie really do a great job in this movie of being over the top, but in a way where it's really enjoyable. I really did enjoy both of them a lot. And Ewan McGregor is one of those villains in this movie where like he does horrifying things and he's actually scary, but he's really funny. Like there's a scene where like he's about to kill a person, and then like she says, I'm sorry. Like, will you forgive me? And then he goes, yeah. And then she starts like having snot come out of her nose, and he's like, ew, a nose bubble. No, kill her. And then like stuff like that. It's ridiculous, but it's funny. Like he's a really funny villain, and he kind of makes up for like Jared Leto Joker from Suicide Squad. Even though, again, I didn't hate Jared Leto's Joker, but I think that Ewan McGregor does a great job as the villain in this movie, as he's over the top in a similar way, if that makes sense. But yeah, visually, this movie's great. I really am sad that people didn't go out and see this one, because I feel like it's one of the better DC movies from the DCEU. Like, it's not the best, but I think it's a good one. I think it's solid, and I really liked all these characters. And just the action was fun. The visuals were fun. It was just a fun time. And then my number one so far this year is The Invisible Man. Everybody is talking about The Invisible Man. Like, The Invisible Man is just such a great movie. But I really, really loved The Invisible Man. I think that it really did a fantastic job of being one of the best, like, stalker thrillers like I've ever seen. And I really, really dug the hell out of The Invisible Man. It really worked in every aspect. It's a movie that is it's not really, it's hard to explain. The movie is, you've got the original Invisible Man, like, based on H.G. Wells' story, like in 1933, that the Universal Monster movie, which I just watched recently and reviewed, and I really enjoyed, and it's really funny, and a really funny movie in the 1930s. And this movie's not that kind of movie. It's a horror movie where, like, it's a stalker thriller where this character, Cecilia, played by Elizabeth Moss, is running away from this abusive relationship, and he pretends to kill himself, but she knows it's not true, and then he's using his technology to stalk her and to get her back. And I think that just the way they do this stalker thriller is really incredible. And Leigh Whannell is just one of those directors where, I'm trying to remember, I think he's only directed 3 movies. Maybe. He might have directed another. Okay, he has only directed 3. Ooh, he's set to direct Escape to New York from 2022. That's awesome if he's going to direct that, because Leigh Whannell has shown time and time again with his 3 movies, because Upgrade was freaking awesome. Really loved Upgrade, and of course The Invisible Man. And then Insidious 3 I thought was a really great first movie for him to direct. He's really awesome. He does a really good job in that movie as well. So Leigh Whannell has directed 3 movies, and I think that in this one in particular, like, it's hard to choose between this and Upgrade, because Upgrade was one of my favorite movies of this year, or 2018. Upgrade was one of my favorite movies of 2018. I really, really dug that one, and this one is so far my favorite movie of this year. But I really think that the way that they interpret this movie as a stalker thriller with just the Invisible Man character, I think is just genius. Like, it honestly is a genius move, because we had Universal trying the Dark Universe with The Mummy, and The Mummy. Oh, Derek, you got to see Upgrade. It's so freaking good, especially if you're an action fan. You've got to see it. Like, you seriously, like, it's so good. Oh yeah, and he did write the first 2 Insidious movies and the Saw movies, or some of them. I keep forgetting. That's pretty awesome. But what was I saying? I was saying that, like, it's a genius idea that, like, you're using a stalker thriller with the Invisible Man. And they did a similar thing with Hollow Man, which is okay. Like, Hollow Man's fun, but it's not a great movie, but it's fun. It's entertaining. And I felt like this movie that cost $7 million and has made almost $40 million so far is a wake-up call to Universal, because Universal was going to do the Dark Universe. They did it with The Mummy, and The Mummy tanked, and The Mummy had bad critical reception, and I thought The Mummy was just whatever of a movie. Like, I could rewatch it again, but it's really not that good. The Tom Cruise The Mummy, that's part of the monster universe, and they've been trying to do that for a couple of years, where they've been doing Universal movies like The Wolfman from 2010 or Dracula Untold from 2014, which I still need to see. But they've been doing these Universal monster movies, trying to create a universe again, but they really don't. It doesn't really work. It hasn't worked very well. Like, I didn't really like The Wolfman 2010, and again, I haven't seen Dracula Untold yet. But I hear people like that one. But I don't know. This is a wake up call for Universal, because it's showing you that you don't have to make a big budget blockbuster out of a horror movie. Like The Mummy, the only reason they redid The Mummy again is because the Brendan Fraser ones were successful, and those weren't pure horror. They were just silly action. And then they of course tried to make The Mummy 2017 an action movie, and also a horror movie, and also a goofy movie. Like it didn't work. And this is a wake-up call for Universal to show them that you can make a low-budget horror movie and make it work, and not make it a tone-deaf movie like the other one. And again, yeah, you mentioned Hollow Man, if I mentioned that. And then Colton, I don't understand your logic, but okay. They're going to keep making movies. They're not going to they're going to put them on 4K eventually, I'm assuming, but they're not going to stop making movies just to put movies on 4K. But yeah, I really, really love The Invisible Man. I think it's a shocking movie. Like, everything about it shocked me. I was really genuinely surprised watching this movie. And that usually doesn't happen. And it's just because Leigh Whannell is a fantastic director and writer that it works so well. And again, yeah, Derek, I can't believe that it was only $7 million, and it looked like, I think Drum Dum said this in his video, like it looked like it was a $40 million budget, but it wasn't. And I could see that. It looks like it's such a big budget, but it's not. And I love the fact that whether you like or dislike Blumhouse's movies, Blumhouse has a great business model. Like Jason Blum has this business model of like, make it cheap. And sometimes that works, like with this, and then sometimes it doesn't, like with like Truth or Dare or something. But Jason Blum has this idea where like you have these really cheap movies. They could be good, they could be bad, but they make a lot of money because they've got such a low amount of money put into it. But when you've got a good director like Leigh Whannell to make a movie like this on a low budget, it works so incredibly well. And I'm really, really glad that we have this movie. I'm glad that we got one that doesn't have to be what the other Universal monster movies were. It doesn't have to be a dumb, silly movie like the past couple that we've gotten. And yeah, Elizabeth Moss too. Really, really great. I think that the guy, I don't know his name, but the guy who plays Adrian, like he really does a great job, even though he's only in the movie barely. But like, from what you see of him, he's great, and he's pretty terrifying. Like, I love how the movie opens up, and I'm going to keep this pretty relatively spoiler free because I want people to see this, because you've seen this in the trailer. I like how it opens up, and she's running away, and then she gets in the car, and then he just bashes that car in and just like screams at her, like, and then they drive away. But like, he's strong enough to just bash into the window to get her. Like, that is effective. And I really, really love how the movie opened. And again, spoiler free, but the movie gives a lot of shocks. Like, there are a lot of shocking moments that I genuinely didn't see coming. And the last shot of the movie I thought was really perfect. Like, it was genuinely perfect. The score was perfect. Really, really loved it. I just said I'm not giving any spoilers, Colton, but I just said that I like the ending, though. I love the ending shot. Fantastic. Because you know there's going to be an ending. And ending shot is fantastic. But you should see it, though, Colton. I know you don't want to, but you should see the movie. Yes, and it was scary without cheap jump scares. The scare at the beginning where, like, she's walking through the house and she hits the dog bowl, that was terrifying. I actually jumped. I didn't expect that, and I thought that the movie just does a fantastic job of building up tension. It's so horrifying in moments that don't need to be horrifying, but they are in a great way. Just, man, there's so many great moments in this movie. I really, really love The Invisible Man. But that's all I've got for my rankings so far. But this week we have Onward coming out, which I'm really excited for. I'm a giant Pixar fan, so I'm so excited for Onward. I don't know if I'll be able to see I don't know if I'll be able to see it until the weekend, but I'm excited for it. Oh yeah, Friday the 13th Steelbook will be awesome. The new, are you talking about the new one? That the new release for like the 1981? Because that's pretty awesome. Ah, don't spoil that. There's a dog in the movie. Quiet Place 2 comes out March 29th, I think, or something like that. Hold on. Jeez, Colton, don't be so mean. The release, there was a Friday the 13th, 2009 Steelbook that just came out, Smarty Pants. So that just came out recently. Yeah, I can't wait for a Quiet Place 2. Quiet Place 2 looks pretty fun. But I thought you weren't really, were you a fan of the first one, Derek? I thought you weren't really a fan. I just can't remember, honestly. Let me see when A Quiet Place comes out. I think it comes out March 29th. What didn't you like about it? I can't remember if I've actually asked you before what you didn't like about A Quiet Place. Better not keep that on there. Come on. March 20th. So it's actually not too far away. Man, I didn't feel like it was slow paced for me personally. I really like that one a lot. Like I saw it. Did I see it twice? I can't remember. No, I've only seen it once, but I've got it on Blu-ray, so I will watch it again before the new one. The new one, yeah, I'll definitely watch the other one before the new one. I don't know if I'll do like a review or not, a re-review or not. Man, I don't have fans of Quiet Place in here, really. I mean, Derek likes it, but Colton, it seems like you don't like it at all. Let me see. I'm trying to just keep this picture up. Okay. Yeah, I feel like. Do you think I should review it again? I've reviewed it like whenever it came out, but like, should I review it a second time? Because I've always thought about that, like re-reviewing a movie. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I only saw A Quiet Place once in the theaters. I was thinking for a sec if I did see it twice, but I think it was Hereditary that I saw twice because these both came out pretty close to each other. Okay, yeah, I might have to do a re-review on A Quiet Place because I do really like it a lot. I don't know. Yeah, I should probably do that. Let me see where it is. There it is. Sweet. And I've just got the regular copy of it too. I saw there was a steelbook coming out for it, or it's either coming out or it's out right now for the 4K of it. But I just got the regular DVD or Blu-ray. Yeah, I definitely will. I'll go more in depth with it because I think the first review I did was like spoiler free because it was right whenever it came out. So that might give me an excuse to do it again. Let me see. I'm going to look it up. Let me see if it'll even bring it up. Well, maybe not. Dang. Dang. Okay. Well, I don't know if I could find it. It doesn't have any tags on it. Unless I look all the way back on my videos. But yeah, I'll definitely review A Quiet Place again. I'll write that down. Now for my channel, for what I'm going to do, I've written down a list of stuff that I'm going to start reviewing. So for this week, today I put out my review for Searching, and Searching I really, really dug. So that's a video I just put out today as well. Oh, I got to catch up on the comments. Yeah, the YouTube algorithm, like I'm not on the front. Oh, what's up, Dino? How you doing? Just talking about my 15 movies I've seen this year, and now I'm talking about reviews that I'm going to do pretty soon for this month. And like I said, today I reviewed Searching and put that out. Really dug Searching a lot. And I've got this live stream today. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to review Leprechaun, which I'm going to review the Leprechaun franchise. I'm not going to be able to review them all before St. Patrick's Day, but I'm going to review them all just continuing on after March. And then on Friday, I'm going to put my review out for Color Out of Space, which I need to edit tonight. Color Out of Space I watched and had on this ranking list because I just watched it today. Yeah, and I searched using my username, and it didn't work either. Let me try it again. I think it's because that's an older video, and I didn't even put any tags in it, like on my videos. Because there's a couple videos I could put out now that just have tags, like that'll come up if I put my name in the review name. So I don't know. Like, let me see. If you guys aren't bored while I'm doing this, let me see. I think I could search it easy on my own videos. Let me see. I've got a lot of videos. Oh, Leprechaun 2. Okay, I forgot. So you've already reviewed the first one, Derek, and I think Returns. Right? And did you do 3? Because I've watched those reviews, I believe, but it's just been a while since you've done them, so I couldn't remember. Oh, across my channel. Here we go. A Quiet Place. Oh, okay. I've got it. It's 6 minutes. Yeah, I could definitely do one that's longer than that. Like, longer video. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't have. That's why. Dang. Okay, so you did do one in Returns. John, are you leaving? I'll see you later. I don't know. You should stay. You should keep listening. You should go watch Slumber Party Massacre again. Since you were talking to me about that recently. But I'm excited to rewatch the Leprechaun franchise because I haven't reviewed any of them besides Returns. And I might review Returns again because I did that roundup thing where like it was in a video with other movies. So I feel like people didn't really see it. So I think I'll review Returns as well and rank them all. And I need to rank and review the Fly movies. I just need to watch The Fly 2, which I think I'm going to watch The Fly 2 tonight. Later tonight, and I really am excited for it because I keep hearing from people that it's fun. Like Christian Hanna Horror keeps telling me about it, which is pretty cool. Oh, Derek, are you talking about Leprechaun 2? Yeah, 2. I don't remember. I really don't remember it at all. I remember it not. Yeah, I don't remember Leprechaun 2. Again, I don't remember much about the sequels. I really don't. I don't remember what any of the sequels like. I remember Leprechaun 3 a little bit because Leprechaun 3, like, it had Caroline Williams where her boobs, butt, and her lips got big and like she exploded. Like I remember that, and I remember that's all I remember from 3. I remember 4 in space. I couldn't stand whenever I first watched it, but maybe I'll feel differently this time. But I really could not stand Leprechaun 4. That's the only one. I think the only one that I legitimately didn't like at all, from what I remember. And I thought Leprechaun in the Hood and Back to the Hood, I can't make of which one's which. I don't remember them well enough. I remember Leprechaun smoking some weed from Leprechaun in the Hood, or one of the two of them. Maybe it's both of them. He probably smokes it in both of them, but I can't remember. But man. And then Leprechaun Origins, I'm not going to lie, I actually didn't mind Leprechaun Origins. Like, I didn't think it was great, but I thought that it was watchable, if that makes sense. Like, I could watch Leprechaun Origins even though it wasn't good, if that makes sense. Like, I actually didn't mind Leprechaun Origins. And Returns, I really, really liked a lot. I thought Returns was really fun. Okay, he only smokes weed and weed and Back to the Hood, so is it both? Yeah, Returns, I really, really dug the hell out of. Returns just surprised me in how fun it was. And that guy who, I don't know what his name is, I'm gonna look it up, but the guy who does Leprechaun in that movie, he did a great job. He was actually really fun and really enjoyable. Like he felt so much like Warwick Davis that it was kind of like weird, like because he seemed very similar to him. Like I was really surprised that this wasn't Warwick Davis. Lyndon Porco is his name. Okay, I don't know if he's been in anything else. Well, he's definitely younger than Warwick Davis. Oh, he was in freaking Little Man, I guess. Oh my god, I haven't thought of Little Man since I was like, or since it came out in like 2006. That's hilarious. God. What do most people call acting? Smoking weed? I don't understand. I'm confused. I don't know what you mean. No, but yeah, just really, really, really dug Returns. That one was awesome. Again, I'm gonna have to rank them afterwards after I watch them all again, but I feel like Returns would be like number 1. Whoop. All right, thanks for hanging out, Derek. I'm glad you came. I probably am gonna be done soon anyways, because I already talked about all 15 movies. So I pretty much am done too. So thanks for stopping by. I think I'm probably going to be done because I'm probably going to go watch The Fly 2 because I'm really excited for it because I haven't seen it before. So yeah, with that said, actually, I'm going to probably hit out too. So, so thanks for anybody who joined the pod or joined the live stream. Thanks for anybody watching. And I'll try to do this every Monday. I'm usually off Monday, so I'm going to try to do this again. So thank you guys so much for watching.